Hello good people of Accordo IT, it's Sam Bell here once again for another lesson, and in this lesson I want to talk about the 8-string guitar. There's been several requests I think for this to be explained, and rather than jumping into some crazy licks I thought I'd just explain a bit about the 8-string guitar and its differences compared to a 6, maybe some just pointers about buying one and how to use one, and some just things that people don't often think about when they first pick one up that might help them have a more productive and enjoyable experience of trying out an extended range instrument like this. I for one use it as a compositional tool. I don't necessarily use the 8th string or even the 7th string most of the time. It depends on the song that I'm writing. And sometimes I'll play the low notes, or sometimes I'll play notes higher at the neck on the lower strings in order to get melodies, as I'll demonstrate in a moment. But first of all, this is my Ibanez 8-string, recently sent to me from Ibanez, Japan. Really lovely guitar, but you don't need to have a super high range 8-string in order to get it sounding good. One of the common misconceptions when people pick up an 8-string guitar in a shop is, oh, it sounds really flabby. That's what they often say. It sounds really flabby and muddy and doesn't sound great and the strings seem too loose. Now, most companies that make production model 8 strings don't ship the guitars out of the factory with the right gauges for the lower strings. I, for example, am using an 80 for my low F sharp string and a 59 for my B string, my low B. And that's how I tune my lower 2 strings. Now, most guitar string companies make those string gauges and they're very easily accessible, but they do cost slightly more than an average string. And if you imagine you're a company selling lots of 8-string guitars, you don't want to be spending lots of money on heavy gauge strings for them all. So it's normally down to the person who buys the 8-string to then change the strings as soon as they get the guitar. And there's lots of pre-made sets available from different companies such as Didatta or Ernie Ball. So that's one thing to keep in mind. So if you're in a guitar shop, this is a guitar shop scenario I'm putting you in, and you pick it up and it feels a bit flabby, try not to worry about that side too much. Know that you'll be able to get a lot more tension and balance out of the string with slightly heavier strings when you go home and set it up. Most guitars, production model 8 strings, are set up in order for you to put heavier strings on. It's not going to damage the guitar, it's designed for that. So the second point I'd like to make is about the tone you choose to use. Now, yes, most 8-string guitarists are either associated with two extremes, either extreme distortion, like Meshuggah, or super clean sort of sounds like bands like Animals as Leaders, Menstis, or Scale of the Summit. I, for one, use a mixture of both sort of tones. However, the distortion side of things, I think you have to be very careful with. You shouldn't be using too much gain. The more gain you use, the more muddy it sounds and the more hidden everything becomes. And also you need to dial in a bit more mid-range and back the bass of your EQ off slightly so you get a bit more of a clearer sound. Let me just give you a demonstration now. This is a camera microphone thing going on here, so it's not a superb sound, but this is the kind of raw in-house sound I've got here. I've got my Laney Ironheart set with the gain, on 4 out of 10, so it's quite low for this style of amp, and the bass is sort of just before midday, and it sort of sounds like this with the volume fully rolled up on the bridge pickup. So you can still hear the notes. You might hear a bit of buzz from the string, but that sounds quite cool with the lower notes. As long as you're separating them and picking nice and evenly, you should get those notes sounding nice and clean. Now, the third thing I'd like to talk about is the arrangement of notes on 8-string. Now, a lot of people pick up an 8-string and they just choose to play a power chord. That kind of thing. And that's fun, and that gets you used to how the guitar's tuned and how your scales will lay out the way in standard tuning on 8-string. But there's two things to keep in mind. One, you can change the tuning to whatever. One really common tuning is dropping the low F sharp down to E, and then you have 2 E strings, and that's kind of easier to think about. And a really good way of doing this actually is to drop it E on the low F sharp, and then the B down to A. It's rough, but I'm showing you for the example. So that's kind of equivalent of drop D style tuning on the 7th through to the 6th string. And on the low B, low F sharp is now tuned to E, so my Sharona, etc. So that's kind of some examples of what you can do. Now,